and pay our respects to our dear sister Tabita Blaj. As we all know, she was a wonderful lady, a loving mother, a loving grandmother, and we're saying goodbye today. But this person here in this casket is not Tabita. Tabita is not here. Tabita's in a better place, in a wonderful place that God has prepared for each one of us. And Tabita loved the Lord and lived for Him her whole life. And we know that she's in a better place right now. Tabita is healthier than she's ever been. She's young, she's beautiful, she's strong, and she's happy. Right now, Tabita is the happiest that she's ever been in her life because she has a new body and she's in a wonderful place. A place with no more pain, a place with no more suffering, no more disease, and no more cancer. And she's reunited with her wonderful husband, Titus Blaj. And if the Lord were to ask her right now, Tabita, do you want to go back to earth and see everybody? She would say, no, I love it here. This place is beautiful. It's peaceful. It's a place of love and peace. The Apostle Paul tells us in the New Testament, what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, and what no human mind has conceived. These are the things God has prepared for those who love Him. God has prepared these things for each one of us, not just for Tabita, but for each person that loves God and wants to live for Him. So she's in a better place. So today, we're sad because she's gone, but we're also happy because she's in a better place. She's healthy, she's strong, and she's happy. And she's waiting to reunite with each one of us. So I encourage each person here today, let's analyze our lives because we're all going to go through this phase. This is one thing in life that's guaranteed for everybody. Doesn't matter if you're poor, doesn't matter if you're rich, doesn't matter if you're educated, powerful, or poor and lonely. We are all going to go through this phase. We are all going to wind up here sooner or later. And we have to ask ourselves, how am I living my life? I encourage all of us, think about the future. Think about eternity. And let's get our lives right with the Lord. Let's get our lives right with God so that one day we will all be reunited with Tabita. So for me, it's happy today. I'm happy for her because I know that she's happy today. And I know that one day I will see her again. And she will be healthy and strong. I thank you again for each one of you who showed up here today. And God bless each one of you. And I think Luisa has a few words to say.
Because some of our relatives have not been here last night, I'm going to read what I said about Mom and I a little bit revise it. A few years ago I read a poem that struck a chord with me and I still return to it from time to time. It's called The Dash by Linda Ellis. I will share it and tie it with what I want to say about Mom. Here it goes. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates of the stone from the beginning to the end. He noted that at first came the date of her birth and spoke of the following date with tears. But he said what mattered the most was all the dash between those years. For the dash represents all the time that she spent alive on earth, and only those who loved her now know what that little line is worth. The following is some of Mom's dash for how can you write about 85 years old? Tabita Irimia was born August 24, 1933 at Iordache and Anica Irimia. As a veteran of World War I, her father came from northeastern part of Romania in the village of Stephen the Great, named after one of the Romanian old and beloved kings, to receive a homestead. There he met and married my grandmother, and they had together 10 children, only 5 of them living. Mom was the second from the last, and she went to be with the Lord in that order too. Little brother David, of whom she was in charge as a child, is with us. Several nieces, nephews, cousins are present too. From family and friends' account, Mom was a happy child. She owned the village. Either she was shepherding the livestock, worked the land with her folks, or visited with people. Beautiful-looking child, she unabashedly proclaimed everywhere what her older brothers taught her, that she was Tabita Miss Dobroja. As the World War II came, it took the teacher and the school closed. Germans, then Russians came through, and Mom did not return back to school. She completed only 4 elementary grades, but she continued working with her family, the land, and she attended to the livestock. Because her folks were born-again Christians, it was easier for Mom to make the connection with Jesus. With her brothers and sister mounting the horses to the carriage, summer and winter, Mom visited brothers and sisters in the faith throughout the Blaj region. Because of the work on the Danube, the Black Sea, the infamous canal passing through the village, she met other believers. Also, she visited the ones in forced labor camps, working the canal or being persecuted for their faith, and relocated in the Baragan region. She made lasting friendships with Romanian youth, brothers and sisters throughout Romania, while visiting an aunt in Bucharest to learn being a seamstress. There, a young and promising city boy, Blaj, took a look at the rough beauty and befriended her, then married her 3 years after, despite more brilliant prospects. That was a matchmaking made in heaven. Dad was a leader, Mom was a servant. Together they complemented each other beautifully. The family enlarged, lived in Old 10th Street, same building where other fine believers lived, some going to become titans of the faith. Friendships forged in Bucharest transcended time and space. Some continued until the day Mom went to be with the Lord. In 1964, within a week, my father moved with our then family of 5 to Constanța to be closer to Mom's family. It was a risky move to leave the capital city for a provincial city, but looking back, the ride was interesting to say the least. And it is amazing to see how God orchestrated events that shaped our lives after this move. The family grew to 5 children. Mom chose biblical names with specific meaning for her. Elisabeta, in honor of my paternal grandmother, Hebrew meaning the beloved of God. Luisa is my nickname, a German neighbor gave me when we lived in Old 10th Street. Andrew, the first disciple to join Jesus, bringing his brothers to join too, because Mom assumed there would be more children. Paul, leader in the early church, whose conversion from Judaism to Christianity made one of the biggest impacts throughout humankind history, so my brother will follow suit. Titus, companion of Paul in the New Testament, in honor of my father. Old wives' tale said if the name of the father was given to a child, that might have been the last one. But then it came a surprise. Michael, who is like God. We may have plans, but the Lord was actually in charge. Mom was reading about Michael, one of the archangels carrying God's judgment and protected God's children. She decreed and prophesied that over this new child. Life was happy for us children. We were the envy of town when she took us all to walk. She took pride in showing us because she endured harsh criticism for having so many children, even under the communist no abortion rule. That was the only pride my mother had throughout her life. Mom worked magic cooking us good food, making us clothes, keeping the house, all from one salary. She happily and willingly became enslaved to our well-being and to serving the brothers and sisters in Christ. I remembered her determination to give us nutritious food. The blistering cold did not prevent her from going to look for and pick nettles early spring. The pain from the needles stinging and the cold were overtaken by the joy knowing we will have the iron needed after the winter. She canned and cooked, even went on northern part of Romania by train and brought sacks of potatoes for winter, not the sacks of potatoes you see in Fred Meyer's. We lived in a block of flats all of our lives, but Mom got some herbs and pots and made a small garden in nearby little plot. Throughout her life, she loved gardening, flowers or vegetables. Aside from her sister, she did have the greenest thumb of all. She was industrious, and her creativity was exceptional. Nobody had one of the kind clothes like me because nobody bothered to use knee-worn trousers to make skirts like she did me out of my father's pants. Old coats were turned faces, clothes were passed from one child to another. Nobody in Constanza had the intricate sweaters and blouses hand-knitted like we had. Any scrap and little yarn was put to use. Looking back, I don't think Mom knew what to do with new fabric or yarn. Like a true artist, she used and repurposed and had a vision for beautiful things she made while we were sleeping or when she watched us playing in the park. I remember how she covered us with blankets and put us to sleep at night while opening the windows. She sang hymns and painted the walls or scrubbed the wooden floors with stinking solutions. I'm thinking they were possibly flammable. Several times a year, in the morning she was fresh, attending to us like nothing happened. She did that year after year when we lived in 2 or 4 room apartments. Some of the earliest memories of our are of us children walking in the park, sitting on a blanket and listening to Mom reading from the Bible. Dad joined us after work. Other memories throughout our childhood, transition to puberty, young adulthood, see us children around Dad telling us from his army years on the southern border. They were exciting stories involving spies. After Dad exhausted them, barely containing his laugh, he was going into, once upon a time there were 5 children, and we all knew where he was going, protested and laughed along Mom, who was knitting and joining from sideways. As we lived on the Black Sea shore, we had lots of family and friends visiting. Mom was a willing host, never tired to receive company announced or unannounced. While we were carefree playing on the beach with young people from church and guests, she remained home and cooked in large pots like they use in the army. As long as I remember, I do not recall one instance where Mom cooked in small pots. Though the supplies were limited, God always multiplied them and the crumbs were shared. I remember the many instances in which after midnight we children relocated our beds on the floor of one room to make place for brothers in the faith whose train came, but they could not get into housing arrangements but later that day. I can hear Dad saying, "Hit the pillow fast, because the next train from Galatstown comes at 4 a.m. Who knows if it will not have other people coming to us." Mom and Dad were unified in their love for God and for the brothers in Christ. Although we honor Mom today, her contributions are tied to Dad's. Together they modeled love for brothers, and friendship forged early in life continued. Also new friendship formed. Our home became a gathering site where we, children, were introduced to the finest brothers and sisters in Christ, crème of the crème of Romanian Christendom without borders. Greek Orthodox, Lacedomni, Catholics, Reformed, Brethren, Baptists, Adventists, Pentecostal, non-denominational dissidents. The name of the Lord was glorified through Nicolița Moldovano's song, prayers, and extraordinary experiences were shared among a group of brothers and friends around the year. This type of meetings we children witnessed throughout our lives. Mom was always a host for the less fortunate. Together with Dad, she visited the sick and brought joy and material help to many. She was generous. It amuses me to remember those instances where she repurposed gifts, borrowed from Peter to give to Paul kind of actions, meaning she took from me to give to a brother of mine, so she would give something. She remained happy through less happy circumstances, and her love for God was constant throughout her life. Because of Mom and Dad, it was easier for me to forge a personal relationship with Jesus. Brother Ilie Potinteu from Apuseni visited and brought a recording of Brother Nicolița Moldovanu for the first time to Constanța, of whom "A bătut la ușa ta" song, loose translation, "He knocked at your door," was the one that made my decision. My brothers made their decision while attending the revivals and listening to brothers Popescu Aurel and Iosif Țon, who were our guests at some point in time. When the political situation in Romania started to be uncertain and my brothers were talking about defecting the country, Mom and Dad decided to join them petitioning legal entrance visa in US. When they were both in their 50s, not knowing English or what to expect in the new country. Although Dad could not work in the same area in US, both Mom and Dad did not stay on welfare but worked whatever job. Mom learned quicker and better English while sitting near Dad driving to work. She courageously plunged in the unknown by faith and opened an adult family home. At her age, not knowing well the language, without knowledge of the culture, she trusted God for help and did it to help us all make a better life in the new country. Throughout her time off, though her time off was limited, she managed to enjoy having us together, raising some of the grandchildren while we went to school or work, visiting brothers, attending church, knitting and gardening. After that stroke, she cared for him that moved with me, that passed away. She lived a little with my brother Andrew, then moved with me. She aged, her physical and mental condition gradually declined. That was a source of frustration. Her heart remained young, willing, but her body and her mind did not cooperate. After a few bouts with acute illness that caused further declines, she moved with my brother Andrew, who had the human resources to care for her needs. Our hearts ached to see her fighting the obvious. Like others before us, we hated to see her losing touch with reality, but we treasured every single moment of clarity in which old Mom surfaced. Mom did not have certificates, diplomas, of medals, of recognitions, not even Mother of the Year. She had not always acknowledged that she only did what she was expected of her. She loved with all her heart, more so in this order. She loved the only true God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, loved us, children, and our families fiercely and sacrificially. They loved Dad, loved her natural family, as well as God's family. She prayed for us in season and not in season. Some critical intervention stand out. I, Elizabeth, was sick with cancer in 2009, and because of some complications I did not know I will make it. When after a month hospitalization I came home to more so die, Mom suggested I sleep in her hospital bed, and she slept in the reclining chair near me. One night I heard her bargaining with God. It's not her time. Take me instead. Her prayer and my remembering the verse from Psalms, "Can the dust praise you?" changed my faith, and I stand here in what I call my extension. My brother Andrew was in the army, demoted from SEALs to construction, because my parents petitioned to leave Romania and because of faith. One Saturday, Mom had a Holy Spirit urge and went to see him. He was sick, but the officer in charge dismissed the signs and symptoms, calling them shenanigans of a city boy. Mom had no problem getting in that officer's face until he sent Andrew to the hospital, where his burst appendix was urgently taken out. He got his extension because of Mom. My brother Paul was anemic without cause, and the leukemia diagnosis was put on. Well, Mom did not receive that diagnosis and searched long and wide until God directed her to the pediatric director of the new Constanza Hospital. God gave that agnostic Jew man wisdom, and he found the cause, a perforated gastric ulcer caused by pesticides on fruits. Paul had surgery, recovered, and the Jew received the Bibles and Brother Wurmbrand's books along with prayers for his conversion. Our lives did not intersect afterwards, but I choose to believe Mom's prayers were answered, even if the thief neighboring Jesus' cross like. Paul lives his extension too. In 2006, no long after Dad passed away, Mom was in a terrible accident, fighting in between life and death. One day in the ICU, I saw her face lit like you see in the movies. Her smile came on, and with conviction she looked behind me saying, "Jesus, Jesus, I love you." Then she fell into a coma. I thought she will go, but somehow she pulled through. When she awoke, she asked me, "Who called me back?" I was in a tunnel going towards a light at its end. Titus remained behind, and I was calling on him, "Titus, hurry up, don't you remain behind." Then I woke up. My brother Titus got more of my prayers ever since. My brother Michael fell from a tree and got impaled in a rusted iron bar in the front yard. He had surgery, but then There was not so much hope with his revival. However, Mom fought like the lioness she was, moved in the ICU, where in between checking on the doctors and the nurses to make sure they will give all treatments ordered and brought even from Bucharest by her brother-in-law, they will not give up on Michael. She witnessed openly to the doctors and the nurses, even to the other patients and their families under the communism ruling in that hospital. Was she perfect? No. She did have her misses. The biggest one may be related to forgiving. She did forgive, but still remembered. She played favors. Her children could not do bad things. Our spouses were good, but she was opinionated, strong-willed, spoke her heart, and did not mince words. She wanted us to be faithful to the Lord, successful among people, and her way of expressing that was not always what it came out. I did hear our children not appreciating when she said something like, "Why did you dress like this? It's not flattering for you." They did not get the nurturing version of Tabita. They got sort of the washed version of Tabita, tired, less patient. I say she was old school, definitely not American-like in respect to flattering. Some of her criticism came hard, unkind. I know she meant well because she loved us. In the end, the blood of Jesus washed away all her trespassings, and she is forgiven not only by God, but by those whom she did the offenses to. Her core value was working on her knees this side of life, standing up before God's throne after I'll pass on. And this is how she qualified and quantified the people around her. Mom had a strong constitution, and her determination was proverbial. My brother's assessment of Mom was right when they said one time, if Mom would have had a tractor, she would still have worked the dirt with the shovel instead. In that respect, she was one of the kind, one of the lost workaholics, a member of an extinct generation, nonetheless, the generation that brought us the faith. Mom lived her dash, finished her race through obstacles, ups and downs, and now she's added to the number of God's children waiting for us, waiting for the bride to join the groom in the eternal wedding. It might happen sooner than what we think. My prayer is that we all be there. With your indulgence, I will continue the point I started in the beginning of my presentation because its stances may give us some food for thought as of how we will live our dashes. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters most is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel, and be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we never loved before. I'll add, there is no love apart from God. The definition of true love, the love giver, manifested in His Son's sacrifice for us to reconcile us back to Him. Only within Him, being imparted His kind of love, we can love others around us.
Amen. 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 That was good.
Tabita și-a început drumul pe pământ în 24 august 1933 la Cernavodă. A fost fiica lui Iordache și a lui Anica Ieremia. Mai târziu a fost soția lui Titi Blaj și apoi a devenit mama lui Andrei, a lui Paul, a lui Titus și al lui Mihai. Și prietena noastră, a lui Luiza întâi. Și drumul acesta lung, de care ne-am bucurat atâția ca prietene ei, s-a încheiat. Am condus-o pe ultimul drum. S-a încheiat. Încheiem și noi cu câteva cuvinte din 1 Tesaloniceni, capitolul 4. Nu voi, fraților, să fiți în necunoștință despre cei ce au adormit, ca să nu vă întristați ca ceilalți care n-au nădejde. Deci dacă credem că Iisus a murit și a înviat, credem și că Dumnezeu va aduce înapoi împreună cu Iisus pe cei ce au adormit în El. Iată în adevăr ce vă spunem prin cuvântul lui Dumnezeu, noi care vom rămâne până la venirea Domnului, nu vom lua-o înaintea celor ce au adormit. Căci însuși Domnul, cu strigătul glasul unui arhanghel și cu trâmbița lui Dumnezeu, se va coborî din cer și întâi vor învia cei morți în Hristos. Apoi noi, cei vii care vom fi rămas, vom fi răpiți toți împreună cu El în nori, ca să întâmpinăm pe Domnul în văzduh și astfel vom fi totdeauna cu Domnul. Mângâiați-vă, dar, cu aceste cuvinte. Așteptăm cu toții clipa aceea când toți morții vor învia și vor întâmpina pe Domnul în văzduh. Ne mângâiem cu aceste cuvinte, ne îmbărbătăm cu aceste cuvinte și vom fi totdeauna împreună cu Domnul. La sfârșitul acestui drum, acele care a fost minunata prietenă, soție, mamă, vă rog să plecăm capetele și să mulțumim lui Dumnezeu. Mulțumim, Doamne, pentru Tabita. Mulțumim că și-a încheiat drumul minunat pe acest pământ și mulțumim că știm că ori vom reîntâlni în slavă. Mulțumim și încă o dată suntem fericiți că știm că avem un viitor în slavă. Și lauda ți-o dăm ție, gloria ți-o dăm ție, mulțumirea ți-o dăm ție, Tată, Fiule și Duhule Sfânt. Și harul Domnului nostru Iisus Hristos, iubirea Tatălui și părtășia Duhului Sfânt să fie și să rămână cu noi, cu toți, până la întâlnirea în slavă. Amin.
Amin.
Și așa cum spunea Tabita, slăvit să fie Domnul.
Amin.
Amin. Rugăm pe oamenii încredințați. Odată salutul lui Tabita, slăvit să fie Domnul. Amin.